Welcome back to Recovery APN. I'm your host, Dan, and I'm joined by my co-host, Andy. How you doing?
Pretty good, pal.
Yeah.
Big day today,
Huge day.
Absolutely. Excited.
Yeah, we have an awesome guest coming in. Again, we're doing kind of on a circuit with some of the professional athletes that have come through APN, and this is another unique player, and I'm super excited for him to be on.
Yeah, me too. The fact that we're at APN able to address the specific, it's not just like, hey, young professionals or old, a specific athletes, you know what I mean? And then have a staff that's makes the gentleman feel comfortable enough, makes the guys feel comfortable enough and safe enough to open up and get the help. Just like anyone, like mental health and substance abuses, we need to work on stuff like this. And I think we said earlier, this is in 2022, this is an opportunity that APN's, I think we're all pumped that we can bring to the table.
Yeah, not to toot APN's horn by any means,
No,
I don't, but, I do, but at this point I'm not. But I think it's unique how diverse the clients are that we have at APN, right? And I think when the professional athletes come in and they become part of the community, they're just that individual, right? Yeah. They're no longer a player. They're just another person, part of, another
John,
client here.
Bill. Yeah, absolutely. Just the human side of it. It's so important.
And talking to them and getting to know them on that personal level, I get goosebumps talking about it, because for so long you grow up and you look at them on TV and you think of them as like these megastars, superstars, but deep down, they just want to be known for who they are. And to hear their stories is so special.
Yeah, absolutely. And the concept of, whether it's substance abuse or mental health, it doesn't discriminate, right? Hey, women, men, 20s, 80, like anxiety, depression, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? And if we're able to identify it and work on it and then become healthier in life, that's what it's all about.
No, I love it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest, Dusty. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Happy that you were able to join us.
For sure. I'm happy to be here.
Before we get started, we've taken special consideration on this episode. Our guest will not be sharing his name, nor will he be on camera, based off of his anonymity and what we've decided as a podcast. Is there any specific reason why you were passionate about that?
Just, this is just so near and dear to my heart, and just want people to know how special care APN just takes care of people, and just how it's not a public thing. They do a great deal to keep keep everything anonymous, and I just want everybody to just know that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to hide. They're going to do a good job of keeping your privacy, and that's just important to me. And so it's no retribution, for any former, I don't want anybody attacking me, because of sharing my story. So it's just important to me to just keep everything just private, but I can just talk freely and be 100% honest, real and authentic and genuine. And that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you have my word that throughout this episode, we'll maintain all anonymity when it comes to you.
Absolutely.
And for everyone listening or watching, if you hear Andy and I refer to our guest as Dusty, that's what we will be referring to him as.
Yes, and everybody go, I draw inspiration from the famous wrestler, Dusty Rhodes. And he had a famous speech one time he did called Hard Times. And I think, just go read that speech that he go look it up on YouTube. It's a deep speech, and I can draw strength from Dusty Rhodes. May he rest in peace.
Shout out Dusty Rhodes in the speech. Go listen to it. So kind of what we talked about before, the structure of the podcast really is kind of talking about your journey that brought you to APN, your experience at APN, and then what the tools that you learned at APN and how they've, helped you progress in life once you left. So I guess, diving right into it, what brought you to APN? Like what experiences, what, challenges, whatever it may be, what led you here?
What brought me here was after a long, stressful professional career. I tried to make a smooth transition to life after ball, and it just got really hard. I was injured. An injury ended my career, and that injury was healed physically, but it never healed mentally. And that injury lingered on, as well as the stresses of the game lingered on. And, I started having things happen to me that was just never happened before. Couldn't sleep, couldn't focus anymore, couldn't, just sad. Just having dark thoughts, just to wanting to make it stop. And, it got to the point where, it got pretty dark, where I was, just, was thinking of leaving here. And, by the grace of God, I was introduced to APN by my therapist when I finally reached out for help, and she knew that us meeting weekly wasn't enough, and she recommended APN to me.
Wow. I got a quick question. With the injury, again, substance abuse, mental health, after the injury, did that lead to more isolation through the process, right? Of hey, you're rehabbing it on yourself and you're not around people. Did you feel that kind of started pushing you towards some of the mental health stuff that you'd never really noticed before?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was all alone, just by myself rehabbing, just trying to overcome it, trying to use all my athletic mindset to just push forward. It's going to be all right, but it wasn't working, as well as, when you're an athlete and you're injured, you looked at as damaged goods. I know you all are familiar with what they do to racehorse that can't race anymore. And it's the same thing with an athlete who is labeled as damaged. He's not going to get any more shots. He's not going to get any more contracts. So it's, you're damaged goods, and, you just isolate because, it's just when you give everything you have to the game, because that's what it takes to stay in the game. You got to give your heart and soul to it. And, the people that you are playing for, it's all about family. That's what they say. But when you're injured, no one checks on you. No one gives you a call to say, hey, you all right? Get well soon. It's none of that. So, you just go to a dark place of just being alone and not having anyone there to be there for you. And, it gets very, very dark.
That's tough. Yeah, I can relate.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, man.
Absolutely.
I can't relate to that because I'm not in your shoes, but I had the opportunity to share my story, and I understand what's involved in that. So I want to give you a tremendous amount of credit for talking about this, man. I know it's difficult, and it's you're in a safe environment. We've all gone through our struggles, and man, I just want to thank you. I know how hard
the isolation thing. Hey, tomorrow I'll call tomorrow, and then it's a couple weeks go by, and then it's the depression hole just gets deeper and deeper. So I can to the depression aspect, I can definitely. I've been in those. It gets dark. Again, the fact that you're here and you're doing well, and we'll get to that. But great job, absolutely.
No, and I think what's interesting, and one thing I could relate to, is the isolation. Right, I think from in my perspective and in my journey, it got to a point where I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew how embarrassed it would have made me, or people looked down upon it, or the judgment. And so I isolated, right? So it's I was there taking accountability because I knew what I was doing, but the addiction played a big piece. But I isolated, right? So it was I knew that it was just me, and I didn't I didn't want it, but like I also kind of wanted people like to check on me too. So like it's scary, man, being in that spot. So I guess, you know, your therapist, you know, recommends APN, and you say, okay, like I'm gonna come to APN, and this was your first type of treatment center you've ever been to.
For sure.
And so I guess, you know, getting on the plane, right? They pick you up, and now you're in the car. Kind of curious on like what was going through your mind at that point.
Oh, just, you know, lots of anxiety. You know, I almost didn't make it. You know, I had a panic attack. You know, right before I was headed to the airport. You know, just, you know, you know, but my therapist, we built a very close relationship because I was sharing. Hold on. I was sharing. I was sharing some deep stuff with her, and she really just gave me hope and told me that that place would really help me, and that's what made me not follow through with leaving here and actually go to check in to get some help. So she gave me some hope to keep going, and that's what caused me to come to, you know, APN and actually get the help and follow through and fight through the panic attacks and everything that was happening.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's incredible, right?
It's powerful.
And I'm kind of curious, like, hearing that, Andy, like, you had went to treatment before.
Sure.
And, like, I went too, and it's like, I don't want to speak for both of us, but, like, I felt that, like, walking into treatment too. Like, I was, like, you're not alone in that, man. It's like, when I was going through it, and, like, yes, we come from different walks of life and different types of challenges
Trauma.
and hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like, getting on that plane and having to come here, it's like, I don't know.
So
like,
I was also, for me personally, I went to treatment once too, and I still talk to the person that recommended the place that I went, because again, I went in broken and I didn't have a life. You know what I mean? I was broken, and I still stay in contact with that person, because thank God that they recommended that place to me and my family, and we were able to get there, because again, it didn't just save my life, it changed my life into one worth living. You know what I mean? And you know, the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation is again a testament. Thank God for that person reaching out and giving you that guidance and getting you into a safe place.
Yes, her name is Shelly, and I want to thank her. I want to thank Shelly from the bottom of my heart, because she was there for me. I couldn't talk to anyone. You don't know what it's like to not be able to talk to anyone and not be able to share things with and just hold everything in. It's just bubbling, you know.
It's exhausting holding it in, yeah.
For sure.
Dude, shout out Shelly first off.
Absolutely.
And like, I don't know, for me, like when I was going through that, it was like I was walking around with like 1,000-pound weights on me, right? And it was like I wanted to communicate, but like, how do I communicate?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be judged to communicate? And I don't know if that's something that you experienced, but like, I just felt like I was putting so much pressure on myself when I was, you know, going through when I was coming to APN and going through that experience. But so now you're at APN, right? You walk through the doors. I'm kind of curious on what your experience was like at APN. What was, like, obviously it's your first treatment center or first facility you've ever been to. Like, I would love to hear from like your eyes, like what you experienced.
Oh yeah, man, it was like heaven, man. It was like a warm place where everybody here in treatment was warm, and you know, we was all a community, and you know, everybody just helping each other, you know, and all the staff was just so helpful and understanding, and wanting to work with you and take the time and understanding and get to know your story and not just trying to, just label you an athlete and, saying that, these things can't happen to you just because you're an athlete and, this is something I never heard of, you know what I'm saying? And literally, like, that was the difference, it's like it was just so warm, whereas society, I'm telling, when I was first trying to tell, own family that, that, I'm not feeling right. Oh, yeah, your own family don't understand.
Yeah.
They tell you it's not real. They tell you it don't exist because they don't understand. And, that's why I'm here to share this, because anybody else out there that's going through this, I don't want them to feel alone, and I don't want them to check out. I don't want nobody to die on my watch, because I need you to know that it's help out there. And this places like APN that want to help you and can teach you things and can work through all the trauma you've been through and give you hope to keep being here and not checking out.
We were talking about this before, and it's like when I'm in middle school or high school, they don't teach us. They don't taught me what depression looks like, what anxiety is, and if I'm struggling from that, what should I do, right? So again, the feeling of not knowing what to do, thinking I might be the only person that might be suffering from this. But then again, on the flip side of it is, hey, getting the help, and then like what you said, hey, like there are places that can help. You know what I mean? There are people that understand, and there's people that can kind of guide me through this process, right? Like, hey, this is how we get through this. We don't get better. There's not like, hey, I finish it after 30 days, after 60 days, but it's the start of the process to work on being healthy and, and being a person that I'm proud to be, and that I can own my own stuff and keep it moving. So again, I get the fact that you have the courage to sit here and talk to us. We love that. I'm kind of curious for you to talk about Laura, Miss Tammy, as
I like
Miss Tammy.
You guys call her Miss Tammy,
and Arlene, and that process and what that's meant to you, if you can.
Oh yeah, they take the time to talk to us, and get to know us personally. They really hear our stories and give us tools to work through the things we're experiencing, and they don't judge us. They literally are very understanding, and literally just shed a lot of tears with them, and just they talk you off the edge. It's just so many times, even it's just times when you're not even in a therapy session, and it's when you're by yourself and then thoughts and things start coming. They'll pick up their phone at 2 a.m. and answer. Is that real when it's life or death? Them type of therapists that's here, that care about you as a person and keep you alive. That's what Miss Tammy and Laurie is, and Miss Arlene. They give you the tools and help you work through things, so you don't take that way out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I had the ability to talk to Miss Tammy and Laura about like all you guys and coming up this weekend, and very excited. And it was interesting, right? Because they didn't, and I hate to say you guys, because they didn't label you guys as you guys. They were like, Dusty, this person and this person, right? And they knew you for who you were. Mm-hmm. And the way that they spoke about each individual was like they were so vested in you as a person, not you as an athlete, not you over here. It's like they wanted
client number 12. Yeah.
They're so invested in the individual and making you the best version of yourself, and they will do whatever it takes to do that. That's like, and that's not them saying it, that's just what I got from it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you see when they talk about, like, I remember talking to Tammy about you, and like you saw like the eyes light up, right? How it's like so excited. Oh, make sure you talk to him about this. Make sure you talk about this. He's doing so well, and knew the exact things, right? It wasn't like, oh, he's doing great, period, right? She was talking about like all these awesome things that you were doing, and it's like when you talk to a therapist, and I know when I talk to mine, right, like when they could repeat the things, right? When they're talking about like, oh, is your mom still doing this or whatever it is, right? It's like, wow, they're actually listening, right? They actually care about like what was bothering me. And I know like the way you spoke about them, right, is like they feel the exact same way about you. And it's so special to hear it from both sides because you see that like safety and trust between you two.
Absolutely.
For sure. They actually care about me as a person. You know, it's not about the athlete, you know, whereas, you know, that's where a big part of my depression and everything, anxiety and everything came from my athletic experience, because, you know, it was just all about the athlete and, you know, what can you do? And if you can't do it no more, you're not any good for us. And, you know, just getting treated like a piece of meat. But Tammy and Laura, you know, they treat you like a human. You know, they treat you, they care about you. They invest in you. They want the best for you. They, you know, they know my struggles, you know, how my injury has affected me, you know, in my, you know, sex life and things like that, and, you know, affecting me having family and things like that. You know, it's very deep. You know, I'm not gonna go all into it on here, but you can read in between the lines of like the things that happened to me while I was playing severely affected me and still affect me to this day, and it's just constantly having to use the tools they give me to have to maneuver and work through and keep pushing forward. And literally, like, they just so supportive and understanding and just care about me, like literally, like they really genuinely care about me, and I can feel genuine love because I have felt when people don't love you at all and just dispose of you and treat you like a $2 hoe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's just the reality of what I was dealing with and my sport I played and how I was treated. And, you know, it's just a blessing that I have encountered them and how they have helped change my life and, you know, help me, you know, like I said, most importantly, still be here.
The other aspect, which is usually powerful, that we ask people I'd like to hear from, is what about the peers, right? You know, you spend a couple hours a day with your therapist, you're in group, you have individuals, right? But a lot of the other time you're with the people you're in treatment with. And I know out of my own personal experience, that was something that I really leaned on and that I didn't really realize in the moment how important it was. But then when I left treatment and staying in contact with a couple people and I wouldn't say holding each other accountable, but just checking in and knowing that that person had my back and that there was true love in that relationship because we were in some dark places together. Do you have any relationships with guys you're still talking to that you were in treatment with?
Oh man, the community of people is so amazing because the guys, you know, that have been in the same battles that I have, and even guys like yourself that has just battled the depression and anxiety and things like that, you know, like we can all relate and talk to each other. Like, you know, I don't have to feel scared to talk about it, you know, because a person that has never experienced it, they can't even relate to it.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Like, they telling you it's made up.
Yeah.
You know, they telling you it's not real. You
Just
know,
feel better. Come on, pal, snap out of it. You know, that bullshit.
Yes, 100%. So when you meet a circle of guys that you can literally talk openly and y'all all got similar stories, it's like literally a family. And like the group of guys I've met here to this day, like even, you know, people that weren't athletes, like I keep in touch with them. You know, one guy I've actually been to his home, spent time with his family, you know. That's the type of family we build, you know, because you lose a lot of friends after ball ends, you know, because once again, a lot of people are just there for the good times, the sports. You know, they there when they can get tickets. They there where you can, you know, they can get something from you. But once the sport is gone, them people disappear. So now you have friends for life that you can talk to and you can, you know, not, you know, more than just Miss Tammy and Laura. Like, you have actual people you can just call and just talk to and be like, man, how you doing today, man? Just, what's going on, etc. Like, it's just a family.
You know what I noticed in that what you touched on is people I've known 20 years that are my friends, right? My buddies. And they are, but then the guys I meet on this, recovery journey that I know 6 months, I feel closer to, and I feel like more love for, and then more love for me with that gentleman or those group of guys, because of we went so dark together and then came out of it the other side. You know what I mean? And grew together. Again, and you can't really, you can't really describe what that feeling is without going through it. You know what I mean? What about that aspect?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like I said,
Awesome.
it's nothing like having a fellow, peer that's been through the same fire as you.
Love it.
And y'all going through it together.
Love
so y'all can both lean on each other. And when one down, he can pick you up, and vice versa. When he down, you can pick him up, because, like I say, every day is not going to be a good day. Even though some days you're not going to make it out the house. Some days it's still going to be dark. Mm-hmm. But that friend will call you and help you snap out of them thoughts. And that's what it's about. That this community builds that. These guys, I can honestly say, like, we have relationships that have carried on post APN that has really helped me and really has been my family. I can really call these guys my brothers.
No, and I think you bring up a great point there. And I think what the APN community does, right, it strips down your occupation, it strips down your salaries, or it strips down your religions, or at some nature of it, right? But everyone comes to the center of this community as someone that is struggling.
Make us all human,
right? And we're all human beings going through struggles and like mental health, substance abuse, whatever it is. And you walk into the lunchroom, right? And it's not like, how many points did you score? This, it's like, how are you doing today? It's like, how you feeling?
How was process group?
How was process group? I'm having a crappy day. Oh, can I do anything to help you out? You want to go for a hike? You want to go for a walk?
Exactly.
You want to go watch a movie, right? It's not like who you were on the outside. And it's like, to Andy's point, right? You're building such a, like, the community is building such trust within one another that you get to know, like, who that person is outside of their title out at work, or how much money they're making, what their family looks like, what their backgrounds are. It's like, I'm getting to know the real person. And I think what's cool and what I've seen at APN, especially with a lot of people, is that you become who you are, right? You get so comfortable, or you become comfortable in your own skin finally. You've been wearing a mask for so long, and everyone, not like one person in particular, and not one occupation, like everyone comes in here because they're struggling with something and they're wearing a mask to hide it.
That anxiety,
right?
It makes you hide it all.
And then you come in and you work on yourself and you learn these tools, and you just like walk out of here and build these meaningful relationships because you're you. Like, that's just who I am. Like, and that's just, and the person like likes you for you and like fucks with you because of who you are. So I don't know, like, that, like, hearing that, like, that brought to my head is because, like, I don't know, like, you just, like, what the community brings, it doesn't matter, professional athlete or not, lawyer or not, teacher or not, house mom or not, 21-year-old still in college or not, I don't know, I just think it's very special, and it's, like, very unique to hear kind of, like, how you talk about it. But so you go to APN, great experience. I'm just going to short of it, right? Yada. But no, I'm kind of curious on, like, what life is like after APN. Like, we kind of chatted before about some things you have going on, but, I think the tools we learn at APN definitely carry over into the real world, because that's what's going to continue making us who we are. So I'm kind of curious on, like, things you've been up to since you've left, and how the tools have helped you since you left APN.
Oh yeah. So good thing about APN is I still have access to my therapist post leaving APN through telehealth. So I'm still able to do my therapy sessions, through the computer, and it's just like being in person. We still can talk, we still can, so we still got that level of comfortability. And, you know, they just giving me tools, and if I'm telling them, you know, I'm trying to, when I finally got the courage to finally go out the house, you know, I told them, you know, just experiences like, you know, like, okay, I finally, you know, like I was having trouble with people approaching me in the grocery store, you know, asking me questions about, you know, just randomly walking up to me, asking me, do I play this certain sport? And, you know, it was very triggering because it would literally bring flashbacks, you know, when I'm trying to just live a normal life and put all that stuff behind me, and people coming to me asking me random questions about, am I such and such, you know, it would make me lash out, and, you know, I would just have a bad reaction. And through working with Miss Tammy and giving me tools to help set boundaries and calmly tell people like, hey, you know, just I'm here to shop. I'm not here to, you know, talk about that. You know, setting healthy boundaries, so I don't have to be so rigid anymore and curse people out. Almost getting into fights, altercations. So now I'm able to just, you know, when I'm at home and I'm going through things, I can do my music therapy. I'm doing my breathing exercises. You know, I'm doing just every single tool they're giving me. I'm applying it, and it's working. So I'm able to actually make it out the house some days. You know, one days I'm feeling really good, I go work with the youth. You know, I'm trying to help the kids. You know, I'm trying to make sure the youth never had to experience this. You know, I'm making sure the youth, you know, make sure they are comfortable with knowing it's okay to have feelings, and, you know, because, you know, I never want a youth to get to this dark place I was in, you know, and, you know, that's a part of my therapy, you know, just trying to help the kids and give back.
Well, we kind of talked about that earlier. Like, nobody told us when we were 12, right, or 9 or 15 what depression and anxiety looks like. So the fact that you're taking that aspect and going to the youth and saying, hey, like, it's okay to, you know, to be hurting, or it's okay to cry, it's okay to, you know, all these things that they told us, hey, as a man, we don't act like that. As an athlete, we don't act that way, right? I think it's super powerful, and I think it'll be super rewarding internally for you to continue to do that. I mean, like, again, as much as you're able to do that work, I think that's, again, you know, like, it's very impressive, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, let's be like real for a second. Like, what you just touched upon, like, is incredible, man.
Yeah.
Like, the experiences that you've gone through your life, right, and the accolades that you hit, and your first priority right now is helping individuals, right? It's so easy to go back into that isolation and say, like, what about me? What about me? Like, I got screwed. Like, why am I feeling this way, right? But instead, right, you took 180 degree and said, like, you know what? Like, I'm going to take these experiences and I want to help people, right? And, like, listen, like, I give you all the credit in the fucking world, dude, to do that. Like, you have to be so fucking brave. You have to, like, there's so much fear involved. And, like, to come, like, listen, like, I'm not saying this podcast is, like, this big fucking thing, right? But, like, just to be open and honest, right? And, like, to two guys that you don't really know, right? Like, let alone to people that are listening, like, I can't tell you enough that, like, I know for a fact, and I've talked about it in other episodes, but, like, the audience that we're trying to listen to is the current clients here, right? So I guarantee you there's a current client here now, or that's gonna be here, that have walked through some journey, and that similar journey that you did, right? And not specifically, right, but, like, different aspects of it, and you're gonna change their life, right? Just the way that you talk about how Miss Tammy and Laura changed your life, like, the way you talk about the things that you went through, like, you're going to make a huge impression on them, and I want you to know that, man. Like, that's facts.
Someone's going to want to leave treatment. They're going to hear somebody's story, and they're going to stay in treatment, and their life's going to it's going to pivot, and it's going to go in a more positive direction. You know what I mean? And because we have alumni that are willing to come and talk to us, and yeah, like Dan said, super powerful. And working, you know, with the youth is, again, I'm sure when you leave after working with those guys, I'm sure you're flying high, you know, like, internally, like, that's probably, like, an unbelievable feeling.
For sure. Like I said, my mission is to help every person out there that's going through something, and to let them know that it's hope. It's places like APN that can help you. You don't have to give up. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to do it. Stay here. stay here. Stay here. Stay here. Don't do it. It's help.
And we appreciate it, man. And again, thank you so much for coming, man. Like, it means the world to us, but I don't know, man. Like, I know one day someone's gonna be listening to this, and like, you're gonna play a huge impact in your life. And like, again, that's just facts, man. So thank you again for joining us, man. Like, I know, like, you've made an impact on me just talking to you, dude.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I echo what Dan said, and continuing on the journey. Like, I know you don't need the attaboy for me, right? But you've done so well, and we talked about it earlier. And there's not like, oh, I finished. We said it earlier. I graduated. Like, we get to continue to get down this path and to continue to grow and work on being healthy and being the man that I want to be. And we look forward to seeing how that goes and being there for you if in any way possible.
Yeah, and I look forward to you mentoring some of our other professional athletes in their program, because I think you could play, again, a vital role.
There you go.
In their journey. So if you want to reach out to Andy, Keith, our producer, Madison, our producer, and myself, please email us at pod@apn.com. Or if you want to see this podcast, if you're not listening to it already, or if you want to see our other podcasts or listen to those other podcasts, please visit us at apn.com/podcast. That is apn.com/podcast. Thank you all for joining us, and looking forward to chatting with you guys again soon.